off top, Oregon is home to the world's smallest park. It's 2 feet in diameter. Play music.
This is the Domonique Foxworth Show.
Welcome to the Domonique Foxworth Show. I'm Domonique Foxworth. We are joined by a Domonique Foxworth Show Hall of Famer. We haven't had him in a while. The great Wosny Lambre. What up, buddy?
I'm good, man. Happy to be back with you, bros.
Yeah, we missed you. I mean, you're back with the audience. You're not back with us because I feel like it's my most active basketball group chat is the three of us, and it's full of Charlie trolling and occasionally me testing out hot takes to see if a real basketball person like you is offended by it or not.
Well, it's great because it's reciprocal. During the football season, I'm using you guys as my football hot take group chat, so I appreciate it.
Oh, you got it, man. And I had this experience with Charlie before the show, which I didn't know that I was introducing you to a new version of Charlie. Charlie's you didn't know it? Guy. So anytime I tell, as someone who enjoys an obscure fact, anytime I say something to Charlie that I think is interesting, he's like, oh, you didn't know that? No, I didn't know it. That's what I'm telling you, Charlie. I'm sorry that I don't know everything. I don't remember in restaurants too. Don't get Charlie started on restaurants, man.
At least I'm not Pablo.
He's been to every restaurant first?
He does. It's not that he's been to the restaurant first. It's again, like he's lived in DC his whole life. And so he's gone to all the restaurants and he knows where all the places are. And he keeps a list of them in his phone. So I think that happens also where like I go places, I enjoy myself, then I forget it like a normal person. But Charlie writes it down. And so he's like, oh, you got this place on this corner? You never been there? How long you live in D.C.? It's so good. No, I never been there. I'm sorry, Charlie, that I don't keep a catalog of all the places I've ever had a burrito in the District of Columbia.
It's not a great burrito, CD.
It's real hateful, though. I mean, Surfside? Surfside's breakfast burrito.
And we're talking to a man who lives in Los Angeles.
That is true. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. I do avoid Mexican food when I'm not in L.A., San Diego, San Francisco. I do.
Fair point.
You would be appalled by the things that we
were
in my rating system.
Yeah, it's Chipotle level over here, man. We Chipotle level burritos over here. And I think those are good, which I know.
They are.
It's a decent burrito for what it is, honestly. Not a bad burrito.
Let's talk about, we're coming off of Game 5. You'll be listening to this podcast on the morning of Game 6 of the NBA Finals. A lot happened. I actually thought it was an awesome basketball game. The fight from Indiana, their relentless style, the minutes where TJ McConnell came in for an injured Haliburton were incredible. The update that we have now is from Shams, who posted that Tyrese Haliburton suffered a strained right calf. Yeah, no and he's undergoing an MRI to determine the severity. He said that as long as he can stand and walk, he's going to play. I want to put a pin in that. We'll come back to the Pacer side of it. But I want to start with the winners, the team that took control of the NBA Finals. That's the Thunder. And this was an incredible performance from Jalen Williams, one that I know I didn't think that he had sort of the offensive game to do in this type of series. And I'm going to go broad with this for Choose Your Own Adventure. But Waz, what'd you learn about the Thunder coming off of that Jalen Williams Game 5 breakthrough?
I don't know if it's just that game, but I think it's of a piece with other games that they've had throughout the playoffs. I think games 4 and 5 against Denver were crucial, particularly game 5, where they're down 10 points against Denver. They're down 10 points going into the fourth quarter, and they win that game. Take control of the series. They end up losing game 6, and, it has to go to 7. But if they lose game 5, that series is probably finished, right? And they have a disappointing second round exit after winning damn near 70 games. And to go out and do that the way that they did in the fourth quarter after struggling for so many moments and tight spots in that series already, I thought that was a huge deal. I thought finishing Denver off in game 7 was a big deal. And similarly against the Timberwolves series, they had the one game where they basically closed them out in the clutch, just big possession after big possession, big shot after big shot against Minnesota. I think that was game 4. And that was on the road, of course, so that was a big deal. And, similarly last night, they're just building on some of this stuff, right, that they've achieved in the previous rounds. And so now last night doesn't live in isolation or in a vacuum. It's of a piece with what they've been doing since freaking April in big game after big game, big moment after big moment. And so, no, I can't say I'm that surprised that they stepped up in the way that they did because, again, like to get to the NBA Finals, you're going to find yourself in adverse situations, and the tough teams, the championship medal having teams, figure out a way to get out of those situations and ultimately come out on top. And the Thunder have kept doing it, man. You can't be surprised at this point. And I would say it's similar to, a bunch of my buddies have been betting Thunder all playoffs long. And against Indiana, they're just like, I hate this team. I'm like, guys, like at a certain point, you got to respect what Indiana does. This is who they are. Like, they're not easy to kill. They're not easy to blow out of the building. And so, yeah, I give a lot of props to the Thunder for putting themselves in this position.
And you came away with more appreciation for the pace. I did it wrong. I tried to do the thing that you're doing. I did it wrong. I'm not as much impressed. I'm not as good at it as Charlie. I think obviously we're coming off the Jalen Williams game, and I think that what you were saying is important. And the maturation of this team jumps out to me from last year to this year, and over the course of the time that they've been building that team has been super impressive. Also, like, every year I'm reminded, I forget it every year, but like how long the NBA playoff season is and how many injuries and impact the series. And we often kind of just discount it in a way that we don't for like football, the sport that I'm more accustomed to watching and covering, but it always matters. And that's something that jumps out to me for this team, is it does seem like part of the reason why it's not just kind of a Hollywood trope or cliche, but you do in basketball kind of have to go in deep and make a deep-ish run and feel what it's like to be there, to come back and then do it again. And for specific players, like to the point that I was making, we always focus on the top stars, but no one ever wins the championship without a couple of like surprise games from role players and secondary stars. I guess not even surprise games, but big games. And the 40 points is out of this world big, but it was the way that he was doing it too, which is why the endurance matters to me. Is we've seen our favorite face of the league character in Anthony Edwards. We've seen him kind of seemingly run out of gas towards the end. That was one thing that you didn't see from Jalen Williams, is the way that he was getting points was not in like these mid-range jumpers or deep threes in the way that we've become accustomed, or at least the threes we've become accustomed to doing it. It's like he's driving and attacking a basket and getting more high percentage looks and breaking down the defense and compromising them more. Yeah, so the cool thing about last night, or Game 5 for me with J-Dub, is that he was on the ball more. He was the initiator of offense. I think Dagnall realized it's like, if the Pacers are going to do this Nolan Richardson 94 feet, pressing our superstar full court, and we're going to ask him to create for himself, and we're going to ask him to create for others, like, we got to, at a certain point, make things a little bit easier on Shea. And the guy that stepped up and grabbed the car keys was J-Dub. And so it wasn't just that. I thought, importantly, he was getting out in transition, cutting back door, like just getting easy buckets. It's that he was actually the initiator of offense, initiating pick and roll, like getting Indiana's defensive rotation in a bunch of those possessions where that just wasn't really the case to start the playoffs off with. And for us to get to the finals, and now it's like, all right, not only is this guy one of our best defenders, and he is instrumental on that part of the floor, we're going to give him the responsibility of initiating our offense and creating for himself and others. And that's what he did last night. He just had the best game of his life. There's just no two ways about it. And I think the thing that stood out to me, he just felt so powerful. Like, he just felt so much stronger and more physical than everybody last night. Indiana is a physical team. And so, big props and respect to J-Dub for what he did.
Yeah, it felt like that was last 4 minutes of Game 4 is when that flipped, when they started sending Shea to be the screener for Jalen Williams. And it's like, okay, whoever gets Neesmith on him, we're going to go by him. He doesn't want to foul out at this point. And that just continued to Game 5. I mean, it was the power, but also like some of the finishes, like there was more to his game than I realized. Like the dexterity of finishing high off the glass, even like a couple of the turnaround jumpers when he did get blocked off from getting to the rim were just crazy impressive from someone who at certain points earlier in the postseason, like it wasn't a doubt of his talent. It was like there were moments when he felt more out of control and more like a transition player than someone who could really do that in the half court. And seeing that in the NBA Finals against this really, really gritty physical defensive team is something.
I know it hurts you to say that, Charlie.
Look.
Have they beaten the respect out of you, the Pacers?
I respect the Pacers now. I've this has been in the group chat. I've always been a Pacers guy. Everyone knows that.
Oh gosh.
No. I mean, look. You know, you got scrappy guy like TJ McConnell. How could I not respect him? Am I right?
Scrappy Teach. They be killing my man, calling him pesky.
He's only 6'1".
Yeah, calling my man pesky. That's such a insult.
No. I mean, it's impossible. I mean, it's impossible. To me, it was actually. I mean, it's the whole series and the whole playoffs, but I was incredibly impressed. I came way more impressed by the games they didn't win. The game. No. I'm just how
banned for the rest.
Okay,
of the show.
I couldn't resist there. I only have one more. But gosh. It was how relentless they were when Haliburton was clearly hampered in that game and not really going to be able to create offense because even though he's a distributor and this amplifying type of player, so much of their offense is having Haliburton as the engine who's pinging the ball around and seeing that team. I'm sure everyone had a similar watching experience where it's like, yes, we know the Pacers come back from every deficit. That one felt impossible, and they got it down to 2 points. There are points in the first quarter where you're like, okay, this is where Indiana goes away, and they didn't. They didn't go away, and like a huge part of that is that they like everyone is on a string on that team on both ends in a really impressive way. So it's like, yeah, you can be annoyed by like wanting the team you want to win to beat the Pacers, but at this point it's impossible not to think that they're an incredibly like tough and physical team.
Yeah, I spent the first half of the game waiting for Indiana's offense to have sort of an inciting incident, right? Where OKC gets out of their base defense or their shell defense, and it just didn't happen until the very end of the second quarter. Where, you know, it's the usual suspects. It's Nembhard, it's Nesmith, it's Mathurin, it's Siakam. They're kind of forcing the issue into the paint to like, all right, man, you guys need to collapse on us so that our other guys can have some breathing room. When you're not, we're going to actually get into the paint and finish it. It finally started happening into the second quarter. And then in the third quarter, it was TJ McConnell who drops like 13, 14 points or whatever it ended up being. And he's doing it just straight up creating jump shots and layups for himself off the dribble. And finally, Indiana's offense kind of started showing some signs, as my guy Marv Albert used to say. But the thing to me, you know, when they cut it down to 2, and I said this on our podcast last night, in a normal Pacers game where they're not going so super down early and they're keeping the pace with OKC, that run ends in them being up 6 or 7 points. Instead, it just cuts the lead down to 4, and they have to still play perfect basketball even after going on, you know, what usually is a quarter-defining run. And so, yeah, it's unfortunate that they came out so sluggish, and I do think it has to do with Haliburton not being able to attack in the ways that we've seen them attack even the best defenses all postseason. And so, you know, it's unfortunate, but this is the playoffs, man. There's no excuses. Play like a champion.
So on that Haliburton part of it, because this is something I think we can learn from Game 5 to go into Game 6. Because, like, look, I'm sure we all feel that if Haliburton's not right or can't play, that OKC's probably going to win this series. But I don't. It's you know, no point in draining the discussion to say that's a foregone conclusion, because it's certainly not with how relentless this team is. But when you saw that game, I had this feeling, which is crazy because Haliburton is the guy who's been the most clutch guy in the playoffs. But I was watching the fourth quarter and I kind of was like, I wish they had put TJ McConnell in sooner, just because I know that Tyrese is their star, and that's you know, an impossible decision for the coach staff to make. But moving forward, I don't know if you guys felt the same way, but how should the Pacers manage that Haliburton injury and TJ McConnell's minutes in Game 6? Because you got to win now. It's not about feelings or your star at that point.
You know, it's tough, and I got to give credit to my guy Rob Mahoney. He's like, look, the reason TJ McConnell can play the way that he does is because it's only for 24 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
He can't do that supercharged balls to the wall thing that makes him so unique in his minutes if it's over the stretch of 30, 35. Like, that's not going to be the result. And so, Coach Carlisle has a conundrum on his hands in terms of upping this guy's minutes, while I don't know that you can expect. And you know what? Maybe for one game, season on the line, he can do it, and it bides Haliburton some time to have a slightly better, more healed up calf. But the nature of this guy's game is that it's pedal to the metal, no conservation of energy at all. And it's because it's in short bursts. And so you wonder if an adjustment to the amount of minutes will affect that. Who knows, man? Maybe he could get some Gatorades or something in him, some Celsius. Is that what you drink, Charlie? What energy drinks are you drinking these days?
I'm just a black coffee guy. I'm not an energy drink guy.
Okay. You're not a Celsius or some of this other newfangled stuff that people out there doing?
No, I tried one Celsius and I thought I was gonna have heart palpitations, and I was like, I'm just
You also
cup of coffee guy.
You also almost killed yourself with some foreign Red Bull. I remember.
Yeah, that was 10 years ago. It's if you drink Red Bull in Asia, it comes in like a small gold can. It's got totally different like stimulant and caffeine amounts.
Dude, just as an aside, this happened to me not 10 years ago. This would have been the summer of 2002. I was in summer school. I failed art my freshman year of high school, y'all. One of the only class I've ever failed in my life. I won't even get into why or how this happened, but I failed art. Had to go to, I think it was like a 3-week summer school course, because you only took art for like a quarter or something in my high school. And my boy's mom was always driving us to summer school, because he had summer school as well. And they had like a pack of Red Bulls on the floor. And I don't even think I knew what Red Bull was at the time, but it was in a foreign language. And I drank this thing before summer school. And when I tell you I was the student of the month, student of the day that day, my teacher was like, yo, what the hell has gotten into you? I'm like, I don't know. The only thing I've changed is I drank this thing
just shaking
from my boy's crib. And yeah, it turned me into a maniac. I could have went to Harvard if I drank those things every single day.
I do want to see the art from that period in your life.
Vindication.
I forgot what we were even talking about, but I know. The Haliburton decision. I think you're probably right. The asking TJ McConnell to be that version of himself for an entire game is unlikely to bear the fruit that you expect. The bigger question, or the more interesting part of that to me, is how you make that decision and what it means to your team going forward, how much Haliburton you put out there. And I think we talk about communication on here a bunch, and like culture and all that sort of stuff. And I think that whatever decision you have to make, as ridiculous as it sounds, I think has to be something that Haliburton is comfortable with, because I know that in this moment they think that they're going to win the championship, but the worst thing that you can do is harm the relationship. And all things considered, given what we know about that team and we know about Haliburton so far, if he's not producing, he's not producing, and he'll be fine with taking a back seat.
And he's hurt.
Yeah.
We know he's hurt.
Right. But I mean, just because he's hurt doesn't mean that the athlete is going to want to not play or be comfortable with being pulled out the game at those moments. It's like
he's going to play, Domonique. And you know this, and I think people at home have a hard time understanding this. I guess particularly with NBA players, but like these are the most competitive people on planet Earth. Mm-hmm. Like these dudes want to play. They will be willing to die to play. And I think Haliburton is the same way. He's a hyper competitive dude, really cares about this stuff. And I think, look, last night he wasn't his best, but I think if the 3-point shot was falling, you see a different version of Haliburton. He just didn't make any threes yesterday.
The thing the point that I wanted to get across as it pertains to Haliburton is, and I think I've heard a lot of this, and I think I hear a bit of it in the way that Charlie's talking about, is the common sense that you think that you're showing, or that Haliburton will accept the rational logic of, you're hurt. Oh, you're not helping the team. No. You need to take a seat.
That wasn't even that. I mean, I know he's going to play some. I just mean, like, if Carlisle's like, we get to a point where we're down 6 in the third quarter and the offense is running better with TJ McConnell, actually taking the look at Haliburton and being like, hey, you got to sit down for the next 6
Okay.
minutes so we can play game 7.
That's the point.
That's the hard conversation.
Right. That's exactly where I want to live, because I think that's a place where people who have not been in that situation may not understand it or may not appreciate that. I agree with you. From where we're sitting, it would make perfect sense to have that conversation with Tyrese Haliburton, and Tyrese Haliburton, while his calf hurts or his ankle hurts and he's watching TJ McConnell perform better, you would think that it would be the easy conversation to have and there would be no residual effects or residual negative effects going forward. That's my point, is there might be, and making this decision, I think the way that I would look at it, and we've talked about this before, when I have difficult decisions, sometimes I like to imagine, if it goes wrong, which outcome would I be most comfortable with? I would be most comfortable with putting Tyrese on the floor and us losing because Tyrese is not himself. And so that's why, like, I understand the decision that Carlisle made, and I will understand it going forward, because in Tyrese's mind, or I can't speak for Tyrese, I think that it's completely understandable for a max superstar level player to be like, I don't give a what's going on or what they're doing. We are here because of me, in large part because of me. I want to play in this game. And pulling him in that game, and I get it. You think that, and
I was just asking the question.
Right.
I guess I mean
question. More than just you. I can speak for myself also. Like, I could easily make the argument that they're better with TJ McConnell at this point. I still wouldn't do that to my guy. Yeah. He gonna have to tap out, or he gonna have to come talk to me, because I'm not gonna pull him out in that situation. I know how stupid that sounds.
But also, like, this isn't the case of this guy is like a Trae Young or a Luka Doncic or something. Like, he doesn't need to be on the ball to be out there, right? Like, we've seen at many points throughout the playoff run where Siakam's taken over being on the ball, or Nembhard specifically on the ball killer like he did in game 1 to bring them back. TJ, same thing. I think Tyrese can be out there and not be the absolute engine of the offense. And I just have a faith in the guy's basketball IQ. He's shown that he's a basketball savant. He's going to find ways to make himself useful. I'm not worried. Obviously he's going to be limited, but I have faith that Haliburton can figure out a way to make himself a useful player for his team.
Yeah. I mean, if they get anything out of it, like anything from him in game 6, like at home with that crowd, like I'm thinking about game 3 when they really put it on Oklahoma City, and you could at home. I mean, it's I know it's the role player cliche, but we saw that with Mathurin, where it's like, who knows? That's someone who goes 9 for 11 in a game. We
saw
6.
it with Case and Wallace and all these dudes last night.
Yeah.
Wiggins, these guys couldn't freaking miss last night. So come on now.
Yeah.
If Haliburton can go out there and do Haliburton things, then it'll be okay. That was just for you, Charlie. Bring you back.
I got to ask, was Alex Caruso going 1 for 8 one of the top 7 1 for 8 games you can remember in NBA history?
Don't answer that, Waz. Don't answer it. I got a different question for you.
He's a sick mind. This kid is a sick mind. He's a sick individual.
I wanted to touch on this as it pertains to Jalen Williams a little bit. I think this is, again, a bit of my football brain. I don't think we talk that much about, like, the draft development and situation and how it matters to the development of a prospect in basketball as much as we do in football. And I find it interesting that we often are like, either this guy's good or this guy's bad. We don't take into account much of the situation. And it pains me to be taking credit away from a player in any way, but it does seem like OKC has a track record that suggests that they're doing something particularly right to allow these players to become the best version of themselves. And I think that what Jalen Williams has become is not what number 12 overall picks normally become, especially this early in their career.
And you mean that because this gets lumped into the guys who are ready. Like if you're looking at like a LeBron or a Durant, it's good immediately. They're sort of situation agnostic. Yeah. You're looking at later guys who are actual development cases.
Get out of there with those guys. I knew Durant was going to be great.
I would say that 98, 97% of NBA success is contextual. Like LeBron, KD, Shaq. You put those dudes on Mars, they're going to be Hall of Famers. It doesn't matter who's around them, what the context or the situation is. Like, these guys are going to be great, but pretty much everybody else who achieves success, the context is very influential and matters. And yes, OKC, it's not even just a developmental environment. I think the way that they've empowered the entire rotation to feel like they have ownership on what's going on. Whereas, like, there's been games throughout the playoffs, especially, and it's easy to say this where it's not working, where I have an eyebrow raised where I'm just like, man, like, maybe J-Dub's green light should be a shade of like jade or something, or like forest green and not like neon green, right? Like, sometimes I'm just like, man, this guy has the ultimate freedom to just do whatever the hell he wants. And as Domonique always says, there's trade-offs to that. Right. Sometimes it doesn't look great, right, when it's not actually working. But times like last night, if this guy was strictly, go sit in the corner somewhere while Shai Gilgeous-Alexander cooks for 82 games and however many games it takes in the playoffs to get to a final series, and then all of a sudden we get in a situation where a team takes that option away for us or makes that option a lot less attractive because of the wear and tear they're putting on our guy on offense and defense. It's like, wait a minute, I haven't done this all year. But they developed that mindset and that freedom that breeds a confidence so that even when you do brick 4 times in a row, taking wild shots that everybody's like, yo, what the hell is this guy doing? You don't feel compelled to rein it in. It's like, no. It's been instilled in me that I have the power and the green light to do this. And last night, it's almost like planting a seed early on and watching that thing grow. And last night was the end product of that.
Yeah. And I mean, I know that they haven't been a great 3-point shooting team in this playoffs compared to what they were in the regular season, but also just Chip England, man. Like, this has been 20 years of getting guys who is, I mean, he's pretty unique about that, and Kawhi is the ultimate success story. Shooting coach from the Spurs, who's now with the Thunder. But, like, there were legit questions about whether Shai Gilgeous-Alexander or Jalen Williams were going to be jump shooters like this. And, like, that was, I mean, everyone I'm sure had a different J-Dub moment from the 40-point game, but there was that turnaround where he drove in the lane, got cut off, and hit a fadeaway jump shot from like 17 feet with like ball's not touching the rim. Where like that is a developmental success story that someone's comfortable and confident taking that shot in the NBA Finals as a number 2 option.
Look, man, I've said it up here before. I'm always raising my eye and skeptical when people in our industry just go out of their way to slurp up the management NBA types in, the GM ranks. Like, it gets on my nerves. I'm not going to lie. However, Sam Presti, not that he needs to earn my respect because I'm a nobody blogger, podcaster, but this dude has earned my respect. To be able to always put a respectable product on the floor when he's not putting together 4 straight Hall of Fame picks, finals teams, conference finals teams, rejiggering stuff around Westbrook by getting Paul George, talking Paul George into re-signing in OKC when literally the entire planet knows this dude was dying to be in California, and now doing it all over again. I just have an immense respect for this guy and his vision and his understanding about the team and the group dynamics. That to me is what's most impressive, is his vision for how people have roles, come together, and build towards something that is bigger than the individual. And to me, that's the biggest lesson that I take out of the finals is the collectivist nature of both of these teams. I was watching Pablo's podcast about Presti, and I forget the legendary jazz musician. I forget the bald black dude's name, but he was talking about having a relationship with Carlisle, and Carlisle was like, yo, you would really like these guys. They enjoy like being complimentary as well as being soloists, as much as being soloists. And I thought that was like, wow, that was like incredible insight about the type of teams that are here and why these teams are successful. It's not just like, all right, man, we need a big superstar MVP type, although OKC has that. Right. But the moments that have made them who they are is these other guys that have come in and stepped up and not just been Shai being, Superman every single night.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to go off on a whole wild, long tangent because the psychology of this is always something that's been interesting to me. And we've talked about before how I think that's like the next frontier. And it feels like some of the front offices and GMs who do a good job have an understanding that it goes beyond just the on-court ability, and it goes into relationships, and not just relationships in your building, but relationships outside of your building. Like, I know Sam Presti's relationship with Herb Sendek is part of the reason why they ended up even drafting Jalen Williams, and understanding
Herb Sendek was Jalen Williams and James Harden's college coach. Yeah. And after we thought that James Harden was going to drop in the draft after his NCAA performance, Presti went to Herb Sendek, and he did the same thing for Jalen Williams, and it was skyrocketing up board. Sorry, just context.
No, I appreciate it. And that stuff, I think all that stuff matters. And to the point that we're talking about development, the development is also absolutely physical, but before you can do the physical stuff is the mental development. And I think part of what makes the reason why I focus on the development a lot is because I come from football and all we talk about is quarterback development. The challenge in basketball is everybody has a development schedule, but not everyone can be your quarterback all the time. So Jalen was the quarterback at that moment. And in order for you to be comfortable to be that player in that moment, it means that at other times, the entire organization has to treat you in that way and respects you in that way and expects certain things from you in that way. And of course, you have to have the ability and the work ethic and the buy-in, and all that comes, I think, from an organization that has a culture that something that they are sincere about, and they treat it. It's not just paying lip service to it. It's allowing players to make mistakes, allowing players to fail in those big moments and have success in those big moments.
By the way, my own ideas about this are evolving. I was somebody who thought a lot of this, the ball finds energy, egalitarian, blah, blah, blah. I was like, yo, this stuff is great for team morale. It's great for the regular season. But in the NBA, when it's the playoffs, you got to have dudes that could bust people's one-on-one in a situation, in the playoffs, in isolation, to crush the hopes and dreams of it. Like, you got to have guys that in an arena with 20,000 people, everybody knows what's about to happen and still be able to succeed. And I think that's not the case anymore in today's NBA. I think you do need a collective sort of environment where you got more than one way or two ways to defeat a team. And I think that's the hardest thing to defend against, honestly. I think that's the thing that makes the Pacers the team that they are, and 2 wins away from an NBA championship, is the unpredictability. Like, you do not know who's going to do what and when on this team. Like, Nembhard catches a pass in the corner. Is he about to pull a 4-corner three? Is he going to take you to the rack? Is he going to drive and kick? Is he going to swing it? I don't know. Yeah. I don't know what this guy's going to do when he catches the ball. And I think that's the hardest type of offense to game plan and prepare for. And again, I think both of these teams, I think that was a lot of the discourse coming into it, was this idea that these teams are kind of mirrors of each other in terms of physicality, want to run up and down, want to play 9 guys, if not 10 or 11 on certain nights. But OKC had more talent at, that certain style of play. But like, man, I'll be damned if this type of, basketball isn't what the future is for us.
Yeah. I mean, it really crystallizes the Knicks decision to me. We're having this conversation is like it does feel like that's a different style of coaching and a different style of roster construction and playing. And like the Knicks decision to move on from Thibs feels like moving away from that particular style, which is, it's not to say that you can't have success at that style, but like, it feels like there is a cap on it. Like, I mean, it's not new, but I think the league fully embracing it, especially with the way that it's going to be difficult to hold on to players, like that does seem like it felt like there was a competition in the league for which way you could have success. It doesn't feel like that anymore. It feels like you kind of have to have this style of team to have sustained success in the NBA.
A couple of things on that. My Knicks friends were texting me like, yo, why the hell would they be talking to Mike Brown? I think back in the days, Mike Brown used to get laughed at for the offenses that he ran in Cleveland with LeBron, like, jokes in the press conference where he's like, I don't know, I just give LeBron the ball and whatever, right? But if you paid attention to the way Sacramento played while he was the coach, it's closer to what OKC and Indy do today. It was definitely a ball movement, fast paced. Different guys get to take ownership of the offense, like Sabonis anchoring stuff at the top of the key and all of that stuff, and having De'Aaron Fox run around the place. Like, they had a pretty intricate offense in the way that it was ran. Now, could Mike Brown ever communicate that to Jalen Brunson and the crew at the New York Knicks? I have my doubts. I don't know if he has the sort of cachet to come in and be like, guys, that methodical plot way you guys played last year, we're going to supercharge and do something different. I don't know. But I know he spent a lot of time with Steve Kerr.
Yeah, that's
been the Warriors offense for 10 years. And again, I used to think, you could do that with Steph Curry.
Right.
He's a singular superstar in terms of the egolessness way in which he carries himself within the organization, but also Steph being like, he likes to score 50, but his understanding that over the course of an 82-game regular season, 20, 30 more games in the playoffs, whatever it ends up being, it's okay if I drop 18 in a win while our other guys are carrying the load.
Dominique
this is good for the greater good. I thought that was only achievable with Steph Curry. Turns out you can do it with a multitude of superstars.
Yeah, I mean, I think to your point, it may Mike Brown.
If you have buy-in.
Yeah, that's the most important part. And if Mike Brown may not be the player or the person to create that buy-in, but I do think that the Knicks, I don't know how we got on the Knicks conversation. It's just us ESPN and over here. But the Knicks do, the Knicks are at that phase, though. After 2 successful seasons that it seems ran into a wall and they thought that maybe Bridges was going to get him past that wall, they are at a point now where I would think the players would be like, hey, there's a limit to what we can do doing it this way. If Mike Brown could be the person, or I know who Charlie wants the person to be, is Chris Paul.
I want Chris Paul to coach the team.
I mean, they would have to become a team where Jalen Brunson doesn't have a 40-something% usage in the clutch.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I don't know Jalen Brunson personally. Right. I think that usually when guys up their status within the league, think of your Donovan Mitchells, your Donovan Mitchell and Russell Westbrook are my perfect examples. They got drafted coming into the league. They were known as like high energy, athletic. These guys are going to be menaces on defense. Nobody thought these guys were going to be 30-point per game scorers in the NBA. The day those dudes became those kinds of offensive players, all of that other stuff got thrown in the trash. It was like, no, that stuff y'all talking about, being lockdown defenders and like floor burns and all of that, that's for other people to do. The people like me who drop 30, we don't do that kind of thing. And I think Jalen Brunson is in a similar situation. He was not considered this upper echelon type of NBA player when he came in. Now, are you going to tell Jalen Brunson, like, you're the most popular athlete in New York City, you're a lock NBA all-star now, you made sacrifices for the team you did? Jalen, we need you to come in and, like, do a different type of style of superstar point guard basketball. Who's going to explain that to him while his daddy's on the staff?
You can't give me the big contract and tell me to run down on kickoff no more. Like, nah, my wedge busting days are behind me, sir. I'll have you know. I guess the argument for Jalen being comfortable with doing that, Jalen Brunson, that is that he's taking less financially,
sure,
in order to have guys show up. But I'm with you. Ain't nobody going back to coach. Hey, they bring out the alcohol in the front for free. You just try and give me some soda in the back. He's not going back there. You want to talk about your favorite player?
I do. Oh, this is the last thing we're getting a lot of heat now of Kevin Durant to the Spurs. It's where he wants to go. We've gotten the reports of his destination list, how he doesn't want to go to Minnesota. We have the report from Windhorst that the Suns don't really care where Kevin Durant wants to go. And I actually am much more interested from the Spurs side of the Durant stuff than just being arbiters on where he should go and if he should get his say in it. But coming off the OKC thing and the conversation we had, I actually think it's really interesting do you think the Spurs should try and build organically with the young pieces they have, even though Wemby is like ready now? He could be someone really soon who could anchor best defense in the NBA, a really good team. That's very OKC-like with Stephen Castle, the second pick in the draft. They made the move for Fox. Or do you think it makes sense to sort of try to go all in right now for Durant? And I know that doesn't mean like where he is in his career, the assets are different, but it could be Durant and a Cam Johnson, Durant and other pieces, where I'm genuinely, like, I think you go either way on this, but I genuinely wonder what you think is the better strategy for this team that has what seems like the most precious asset in the sport.
I'm not trading for KD if I'm them. No shot whatsoever. And that's because when you add somebody like KD and his stature, you're not just adding him as a hooper. You're adding him as an entity. You have to orient your organization around who KD is. And not to say that it's impossible to work, but I don't know if I want to do that, overhaul the thing that I've got going, because this will be an overhaul organizationally, culturally. Mm-hmm. It's going to be a change. You're not like, KD's not coming in so that he could be treated like Devin Vassell. No. We know that for a fact. Like, that can't even be disputed. And so I don't know that I do this if I'm San Antonio. I know for a fact Sam Presti wouldn't do that. Like, why am I accelerating, hypercharging my process, around this kid who has not even scratched a single surface of who he's going to be and what he's going to do in our league? I'm not doing it.
So, I obviously 100% agree with the idea that you should have a plan and a structure going forward to build your team. But I also think that when the opportunity arises, you might need to jump on that opportunity. And part of this calculation, and maybe this is the wrong way to think about it, is Wemby's a unique body type, man.
7'5", and he's already in clots.
It feels like the time is ticking. Yeah,
and he's already ready as far as skill level. Like, we got to get him some late postseason reps as soon as possible, because that's the only thing that's standing between him and being the best player in the NBA is us seeing him and him getting comfortable in those conference finals and NBA finals. So Kevin Durant becoming available right now does, to me, sound like an opportunity that, of course, is not the last move, that does get them there around the talent that they already have there. And so that's part of the reason why I wouldn't dismiss it out of hand. I think what matters more than reorienting the organization and the culture, and we spend a lot of this show, we spend a lot of every show talking about how important culture is. So, like, it's not lost on me that it does impact the culture, and that's a risky maneuver.
It's a big impact, bro.
I know. It's a risky maneuver to make.
And don't forget he's 37. And don't forget you have to extend him, so you have to commit for 3 to 4 years.
Right.
To a 37-year-old at the top of the market.
I get all of that. I'm not saying it's the right move to make, but I think I would lean more in the direction of doing it than not, because
I'm the opposite. Yeah. I don't think it's a disaster to trade
do you
for
think
KD.
Do you think the price would the price be? I guess that's the real holdup, because I'm not doing it if I have to give up, like, I don't know, Castle and which would be the draft pick that would be Harper coming up. Like,
they're not giving up either of them.
Harper's not as a non-starter. That's not happening.
So,
it's not gonna happen.
Charlie said they're not giving up either of them. If I don't got to give up either of them, then
Phoenix doesn't have to trade them. Yeah. Phoenix is like, well, if you ain't got to give up Castle or the third pick, or like, what are they giving up? Harry Barnes,
Vassell, 14, and a couple future picks. I genuinely think that's
so now
impossible.
Hold. Now you're not so worried about that culture, huh? Now all of a sudden we mix it up.
No. I'm still super worried about the culture. When's the last time there's been a happy locker room environment that KD was a part of? OKC, bro.
And not the end of OKC, like 2014 before the
OKC.
That's because everybody else is me.
Yeah. It's not me. It's you.
It's always
This
them.
is Dominique
It's always
is
them.
doing the Dominique is doing the opposite of when you break up with a chick and you say it's not you, it's me.
Yeah.
It's not me, it's you.
It's
That's
all
the
of y'all.
Dominique
It's
show
all of
thing.
y'all. It's not me. It's all of y'all. Every single stop.
I think that's a bad idea. I'm sure it'd be nice for 3 months or whatever the hell it may be. But the second things don't go in the direction of a way that KD likes, it's not going to be fun to show up to work no more, man.
That is fair. I think you're exposing me for one of the things that I started the show by
This
saying
is the
that,
culture guy. This guy invented culture discourse.
all those things that I thought was important when you could find me a 7-footer that can shoot.
Oh, my goodness. This guy sees one left to right crossover pull-up three and loses his mind.
It is the funniest thing about Dominique.
Put him next to Wemby. Put him next to Wemby, damn it. Put him next to Wemby, and y'all won't be talking this. Put him next to Wemby.
The funniest thing about Dominique is his basketball opinions. The basketball players he likes are I like them, but they're like
they can do no wrong, man.
Do you know when someone just sees like a tall white quarterback who can throw the ball 70 yards? That's what Dominique's
that's his basketball love.
I love
bag. He's a bag talk guy. He likes bag.
Let KD get it in his bag.
He's a huge Kyle Bowler guy on the basketball court.
Stop it. How dare you insult my man KD by bringing up Kyle Bowler?
I was just talking about in general. KD's the idealized version
was it Jim Druckenmiller head back in the days?
He sees Jeff George.
I knew it.
He's Jeff George. He's like, I got Jeff George at the 2.
All right, it's obviously time for us to end the show. When we get to the point where you two are ganging up on me, that means it is rap time. So thank you, Wazzy Lamray, for joining us. Thank you, Charlie Kravitz, I think. And thanks to all the great producers. I love you, Podville. We out.
This is the Domonique Foxworth Show.